So let's pick up where the last video left off, which is just finished my first week at home. So starting week 2 at home after my my valve replacement surgery, and so this will be the 3rd week post surgery. This should be a shorter video because things have been progressing pretty quickly. But first thing I did was went in that Friday morning to the Coumadin clinic here in town to meet with the nurse that runs that. I had a 45-minute meeting where she walked over kind of all the different things and side effects and what can affect the Coumadin and what doesn't, and kind of how she operates. And that was a great feeling to know, like, okay, this is the person I need to be talking to. So she had the little tester. She poked my finger, put it in there, and she said, these things work great except for when they don't. And typically, she said, sometimes they'll read extremely high, and then we know that it's not right, and then we just have to go do the full draw in the arm. And of course, the first one came back on her little machine with the finger prick. It's like a 6.9, and she said, "Listen, I know it's not 6.9, so we're going to get you to have blood drawn out, and we'll do the test that way, and I'll just call you back and let you know what to do." And again, like everything else, I was just all the little things not looking forward to it because my arms were still sore from having so much blood work taken at the hospital. But I went over next door, had that done. Again, 2 seconds of discomfort is all it is. But by 3 weeks after having the surgery, I wanted to be comfortable and just never could get comfortable. But anyway, did that. I think the INR came back later that day at 3.6. And so she adjusted me down for a day and said, "Hey, I'll probably, keep you at 12.5, but I'm going to do one day at 7.5. I also told her I was finishing up the steroid, and I'd been on Lasix, and just telling her all these different things. And she said, obviously, those things can throw you way off, so we'll kind of keep it normal. Come back on Monday. We'll check again. By that time, you should be, kind of done." So that was, that was Friday morning. Again, I'd completely off the oxy at that point. I was just taking the Tylenol, which worked well for my pain levels. I was walking. Finally, by the 2nd week, I started walking more. I can walk 25 minutes. Definitely getting at least a mile in every time I walked. And that kind of started Friday. By Sunday morning, I was done with the steroid. Hives completely gone, which was, again, an amazing feeling to know that didn't have that issue to go with just the other aches and pains and things I was dealing with. A big thing that still bothers me, but really did during the second, it's just indigestion. I guess, my gut health is still not quite right from all the medication and things that were obviously needed, but I was able to make my bathroom trips more regular, which was great. But just having indigestion and having to deal with that it's just an inconvenience, but something that I didn't realize would really be there. Sleeping, finally was able to sleep in the bed, and sleeping got better. Now it wasn't great, but I'd gone without sleep at all, and all of a sudden one night I finally got like 6 total hours of sleep and felt just amazing. But I'd propped up a little bit in bed. Typically I could sleep, I'd sleep for a couple hours, I'd get up, go to the restroom, come back, finally fall asleep, sleep for a couple hours, restroom, and then usually around 4 or 5 I'd wake up and I would move over here to this recliner and sleep for another hour. And that's kind of what I did throughout most of that 2nd week. Just could not stay in bed, couldn't get a full night's sleep. But that did get better later in the week, where I was able to finally feel comfortable laying on my side and sleep. So that gave me a little bit more, not just on my back. Gave me a little bit more variety at night. Again, hard to adjust myself because it's still just aches and pains and moving, but was able to do that. Daily shower continued again, needing help. But really by about midweek, I was able to shower by myself and wasn't as cold, so I could handle that a little bit better. Um, Wednesday of that week, I was able to cut my hair and do that, and again just feel normal. I mean, I don't have the full range of motion in my shoulders and my arms quite yet because it feels the pulling throughout my chest, but to be able to do that felt great. Going back Sunday of that second week, my parents went home, so it was kind of it was a huge help to have them here. But once they left, it was nice to be able to kind of relax a little bit and it be a little bit quieter. So that kind of helped out some. Naps during the day, never really felt completely rested, but one of the things I noticed was when I get up in the morning, I'd feel pretty good. I have a lot of energy. Get up and do my morning walk on my own. During week 2, I was bumping that morning walk up to 30 minutes. And one day I pushed it to a 2-mile walk and realized that I probably overdone it some. But I was able to really pick that up. A couple times we went to a store during the middle of the day to walk just so I can get out. And that was okay, but again, it was still a little stressful riding in the car, just being around so many people. But better than the heat, obviously. Anyways, once my parents had gone home, again things kind of fell into a little bit normal of a routine, and then was able to eat pretty well. Pretty much everything worked normally. Again, still indigestion, still tired. I don't have the energy levels I did, which is, my wife and I were talking about it because this was an elective surgery for me, and 3 weeks prior, the day before I went in for the surgery, I was working out, very active. I would be a little tired and have some fatigue in the afternoon, take a nap. But now going to being so limited on movement and just being tired was tough, and it still is tough. But one of the things I noticed is that if I would take a nap during the day, is it would take me an hour to feel awake again afterwards. The mornings I felt great, but if I took a nap, it took me so long to get going. But I think that's all kind of part of the whole process and what my body's been through and going through that. But my glutes finally stopped hurting as much, but just kind of feel numb in those areas, and that's a little strange. But I think again it's just because they hurt for so long and just the mobility. So I've been trying to do a little bit of stretching during week 2 at the house, but it's still being very careful because I don't want to overdo something until I get cleared in my post-op. The only big thing really that sticks out during week 2 was toward the end of the week. Again, my wife and I had been out to the clinic again, had my INR tested, which again was still a little bit high. So they adjusted me down a little bit, so it's still in the mid 3s, and we really want it to be between 2 and 3, probably closer to 3. So again, that's still a moving target. Went Monday and Thursday of that week. Still trying to get it going. The machine still didn't work for my finger prick, so I had to have it drawn on my arm. But that's part of this whole process, I guess. But anyway, so we'd run some errands. I grabbed some food while we were out and got home. And I just remember I was sitting on the couch, and I just kind of felt like my heart was racing a little bit. And I leaned over, trying to get comfortable, and I looked down at my watch that has my heart rate on it, and it was like 130. And I had just been sitting there, and I was kind of like, this is not right, because it had been in the typically in the 80s, low 80s. The resting heart rate, according to my watch, is around 70. And so you're talking almost double what that was. And it kind of freaked me out a little bit. And I told my wife, like, hey, I don't know what's going on here. So I got up and kind of walked around a little bit, and it was like jumping up into like 140s and just staying there. And it didn't feel like it was pounding, uh, but it was high. And it had not happened before. And so I said, okay, came in, laid on the bed, propped my feet up, and just tried to rest and see. And it stayed. My wife had called the surgeon, because I'm still kind of under their care versus my cardiologist, and was talking to the PA and nurse, and basically they said, hey, this can be a normal thing. If I feel dizzy, if I feel nauseous, um, if I really feel it pounding, then yeah, hey, come down to the emergency room to there at the hospital to be looked at, but just kind of monitor and see. And so I was just laying on the bed, and it was about 45 minutes total, and it finally went down and dropped back down into the 80s, and so that was a little bit nerve wracking because I just didn't know what it was and didn't know what caused it. But after that went away, I haven't had that problem since, thankfully. But that was the big thing in week 2 again. Mobility, I was able to do all my walks on my own. Didn't feel like I needed to have somebody there with me. I could kind of go up the steps in the house some, more active around the house. Still not feeling the best mentally, but that was okay. So I'm kind of working through and getting there, but I was able to, watch TV, read, interact with the kids more. Appetite was better. Again, able to take showers on my own. All those kinds of things kind of jumped into normal. Still working on the INR, getting that in the right range. But really, that one point of that really high heart rate was the only big major thing for week 2. But after that went away, it kind of calmed down and everything went well. And again, I think the thing that I was happiest with is throughout the week, being able to sleep more at night. Still not great. Still not, still sleep for about 3 hours, wake up, restroom, sleep for about 3 hours, but able to do that fully in bed, typically going to bed around 10 o'clock, and then probably by about 5 in every morning I would just kind of wake up and realize I'm not going to sleep anymore. There's no reason to lay in bed, so I would get up and feel pretty good in the morning as that energy kind of kicked in. Did my morning walk before sunrise, but overall, week 2 at home, week 3 after the surgery, over the previous week, big improvements. Still having to be careful to not overdo it, because when I felt great, I would really want to go hard. But trying to learn the lesson of little bits at a time, I think, is just pacing piece that I'm gonna have to learn throughout this recovery, so I don't do something that's gonna, make me regress more than I should. But that's week 2. So I'll make another video when I get to the end of week 3, which will be 4 weeks after my surgery, talk about week 3, and then the following Monday, which will be on the 14th, I'll have my post-op, and I'll do like a month after update of what this process has been. But that's week 2 at home.